Welcome to Detachment Diaries. This channel is about situationships, emotional patterns, and personal growth. I share stories from my past, not to shame anyone, but to understand myself and learn. If you relate to patterns of attachment, ambiguity, or emotional cycles, you're in the right place. This video is about a connection that started during a strange time, the pandemic. Lockdowns, uncertainty, a period when many of us turned to digital spaces for human contact. I matched with someone on a dating app in April 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. Everything was closed, social life slowed down. Dating apps became a way to talk to people, even if meeting in person wasn't possible. I was bored, curious, exploring, and prior to that, I didn't have much dating experience. I had never been in a relationship. I went on dates here and there, but I wouldn't describe them as love. You could say I was a late bloomer, emotionally inexperienced, still figuring out what connection meant. Him and I matched and started talking. What surprised me was how much we had in common. He liked K-dramas, and so did I, and that became our thing. We would trade recommendations, talk about episodes, discuss characters. It sounds small, but shared interests create bonds, especially in isolation. We message every day, good morning messages, good night messages, conversations about life, hobbies, and the strange reality of lockdown. We talked about meeting one day. Something like, I hope this pandemic ends so we can see each other. That kind of hope. And I allowed myself to dream, to imagine the moment we would finally meet. It was innocent, naive. I fell for potential, not reality. And this is something I understand better now. It is easy to build an idea of someone in your head, to imagine who they could be, how a relationship might look. But potential is not the same as truth. We had never met. I did not truly know him. I knew the version of him that existed through messages, through curated conversation. Digital connection is real in feeling, but incomplete in understanding. I thought I was in love, and looking back, I asked myself, can you love someone you have never met? I don't have a simple answer. I had strong feelings. I cared. I looked forward to our messages. I felt excitement. But love requires knowledge, experience, shared reality, and we did not have that. What we had was possibility. And possibility can feel powerful. And for a year, things were good. There's consistent messaging, warm conversations, a sense of connection. Then I noticed a change. The replies became colder, shorter, less frequent. And if you have experienced this, you know the feeling. You try to rationalize it. Maybe they are busy. Maybe life is stressful. Maybe nothing is wrong. But your intuition notices the shift. Something is different. So I started reaching out more. Not out of desperation, but because I wanted to understand. I still cared. Sometimes we would still have sweet exchanges, but the consistency was gone. The emotional availability had changed. That uncertainty is difficult. It creates anxiety, questions, self-doubt. Did I do something wrong? Am I too much? Did they lose interest? I didn't have answers, so I distracted myself. I talked to other people, and this was also the period when I met someone who became a situationship, a different dynamic and a different lesson. But deep down, he remained special to me. Not in a romantic, idealized way, but as the first person who made me feel strong emotional attachment. The first time I experienced that level of feeling. And that matters. First experiences shape us. They teach lessons, sometimes painful lessons. And eventually, I learned that he had met someone. He told me in a drunk call, not in a planned conversation, not in a thoughtful way. It slipped out. That moment gave me clarity. It confirmed what I had already sensed. He had moved on, and I let him go. Not with anger, not with resentment, with understanding. People change, circumstances change, feelings change. And that is life. We remain social media connections on Facebook, and I reach out once to check in. No reply. And that was 3 years ago. And I haven't heard from him since. He's not active online. I have no idea what his life looks like now. And that is okay. Not knowing is part of moving forward. I still look back fondly. I remember the excitement of those early months we've met, those messages we had, the feeling of being understood, the hope that something could grow. It was real to me, even if it never became tangible. But I also recognized that I was different then, naive, inexperienced. I idealized connections. I believe in potential more than reality. And after he ghosted or became distant, something changed in me. I started anticipating abandonment, expecting people to leave. If one connection became cold, I would prepare for it. I would create backups, a roster, multiple connections so that I wouldn't feel alone if one disappeared. I know now that behavior was a coping mechanism. Not healthy, but understandable. It was my way of protecting myself, of avoiding the pain I felt with him. Ghosting and emotional distance can leave marks. Not trauma in every case, but lessons. I asked myself, did he give me trauma around ghosting? I think it influenced me. It shaped how I approach relationships afterward. I became more guarded, more anxious, more prone to overthinking, believing that people would eventually leave. That is not his fault alone. It is how I processed the experience. Growth is recognizing that, understanding the pattern, healing from it. And over time, I reflected. I realized he was the first person who made me feel deep emotions. The first time I experienced attachment. And I'm thankful for that. Not because it led to a relationship, but because it taught me about myself, about what I want, about how I respond to connection. Do I wish we had met in person? Yes, of course. It would have been nice. A real meeting. A chance to see if the digital chemistry translated to reality. But life doesn't always provide closure. Some stories remain unfinished. That is okay. I don't want a relationship with him now. Our lives are separate, have different paths, and if we ever met, it would simply be as two people acknowledging the past. No expectations, no pressure, just human history. And that is enough. I leave it to fate. If it happens, it happens. If not, I carry the lessons. And here's what I learned. Strong feelings can develop even without physical meetings. Potential is not the same as compatibility. Ghosting and distance can impact emotional trust. Healing requires reflection. And not every connection must become permanent. I also learned that my anxiety around relationships came partly from experiences like this. When someone changes or disappears, it hurts. So I try to control outcomes, to create safety through multiple connections. But real emotional security comes from within, not external validation, not constant reassurance. It's from understanding that I am enough and that I will be okay regardless of outcomes. He was the first chapter, not the entire book. I cherish the memory. I accept the ending. I move forward. This video isn't about blame. It's about understanding how experiences shape us and how we grow beyond them. This is Detachment Diaries, and this is part of the journey.